guys, I'm Kristina from Leafy Luster, and today I want to talk to you about string of hearts. So as you saw, I already chopped up my string of hearts right here, and then I also have a string of hearts Variegata that I want to propagate as well. So I want to give you a quick care guide in the beginning of the video, just what I do to keep them happy, and after that we are going to propagate those two babies together, and then I also can show you some progress. So I have a few of my propagations right here, so I can show you how it will look in a few weeks, in a few months. Quick care guide. I keep mine in I keep in pretty high light in a southwest facing window, and the green one is totally fine with it. The variegated one wasn't really happy with the direct sun. It started to produce really tiny leaves, I'll show you here, and I think it's to protect itself from the sun maybe, and I think it was just too much direct sun. After that I put it in a little bit lower light spot, so not so much direct light, a little bit farther away from the window, and then the leaves started growing normal again. Can tolerate high light and low light. And as far as soil goes, I keep mine in my general aroid mix that I use for everything basically, which has perlite, some orchid bark, general like soil, and then some humus as well. I think I added some succulent mix to it, so it's more sandy. It's important to keep them in soil that is not water retaining, because you don't want them to stand in water and get root rot, because this can happen easily if you overwater, and with an airy mix you don't run the risk of that. As far as fertilization goes, I just fertilize them as all my other plants if they are growing. If it's growing season, I do it more often, in winter less, but as long as they are growing, I have never seen any negative effects of fertilizing them. Now the important part for watering, I don't water them very often, so I always just do the touch test. You just touch the leaves, and if they are firm you don't need to water it, and if they become squishy and like empty, you feel that there's no water in there anymore, then you can water. So you can give them a good soak, and then after one day you can touch them again. If you feel that they perked up again and are firm again, then you did everything right and the plant is happy again. I think they are pretty easy plants. If anything goes wrong and I don't know, you overwater, they start to rot, then just cut it, propagate it, and try again next time. Let's get on to the exciting part. Let's get to propagating. So I think we just start with the cutting and then later go on to the different propagation methods. And then let's get going. The only thing is they always get tangled, and it's such a pain in the ass to untangle, but you know, I'll just keep it for now. Well, this look isn't actually good, so we will work with everything that I have cut up right here. And then let's give this one a haircut as well. I really love the first cut, it's so exciting. I think I will cut everything off. I have another variegated string of hearts right here that is doing really well. So I have one as a backup. Okay, let's do the cut. Let's do the cut. Where did I put this? Let's do the cut. Want to witness it? Okay, so here's the pot, and I'm going to cut the whole top off. Yes. So 3, 2, 1. Well, that's what's left. Not a lot. All of this goodness right here. Man, I would have so many propagations. So if anyone wants some string of hearts, then hit me up. What is important now? We always have 2 leaves, and then they are connected at the node. So sometimes you already see a little nub on there that will produce new roots and new growth as well. So that's the part that we need to keep. So we want to cut left and right from that node, and then we will have a single cutting with 2 leaves and a node, and that's it. Because then I will get 1 new strand out of every node. If you were to take 1 strand, put it into water as this whole piece, then it will just produce 1 new growth point, and you will still have only 1 strand. So if you want to multiply your strands, if you want to gain more, then you have to cut them up more. I will shorten the internodal spacing a little bit. So here are 2 leaves, then there's a lot of internodal spacing, then 2 leaves again. So I will chop them basically here and then shorten it a little bit on the top. See you in a bit.
Two hours later.
Here you can see what I have going so far. I have the green ones on the pile here, then I have a big pile of variegated ones, and then those, for example, I just left a little bit bigger pieces because the leaves were so small or there were no leaves at all. So I will just stick them in like that, and then look at this little strand, it's so pretty. Then here you can see it a little bit better. So there's a node with a little nub, so that's it. There will the roots come from. And then we have this 2-leaf piece that will be propagated. Now that we have cut up all of these strands, I will leave them to dry a little bit to colors over. In the meantime, we can already prepare our moss and our soil. So I have a little bit something prepared. Here we have the moss. I already re-wet it, so as you can see, it's wet. And then I also have some jars that I like to do it in because they keep the moisture pretty well. You can see the roots through the glass, so I always like that. Also like to use some of the those saucers or like plates, whatever you have, containers. You can use basically anything. And I will also show you a little bit of the soil propagation that I tend to do sometimes. So we have some soil prepared here as well. To prepare the containers, I will just gently squish out all of the excess water from the moss and then just put a little bit of moss in the glass jar until here approximately. So it's a shallow layer of sphagnum moss. That's completely enough. It's easier to transplant later on in the propagation process. Then I have this saucer filled with sphagnum moss as well. And now that we are all set with our propagation vessels, we can start sticking our propagations in. So I will take you a little bit closer so you can see a little bit better. We have our moss right here. I will start with this. I want to put the green ones in there. So I'll take one little cutting and just place it into the moss so that the node is covered in moss. So I will repeat that. If possible, the leaves should face upwards so they can get some light and produce energy this way. I think this is it. I will do basically the same, but I will stick it in the soil. So again, I want the node covered in soil, so I will have to stick them in a little bit deeper. It looks a little bit messy right now. I will then wet the soil and put some cling film over it. Okay, so I will leave it at this. Now we want to do the same with this glass jar. So I will just take those little cuttings and stick them into the moss. And after that it will look like this approximately. So you have all those little cuttings and they are pressed against the moss. You can also put a little bit more moss on top if you feel like the nodes are a little bit bare and not touching the moss really. Put it in a sunny and preferably a little bit warmer spot. Okay, so this is my second box. I have watered these real quick, so now everything is nice and moist. And I already wrapped this one in cling film so the humidity inside stays really high. And then we will do the same for this. You could alternatively just put it into a greenhouse or a prop box. You just want to give them a little bit higher humidity, that's all. This one as well. Okay, and then these ones will go into my propagation shelf, which has a really good grow light in there and gives off a little bit of warmth as well. So I hope these will grow in no time. This one as well. This one I like to keep open because it holds the humidity pretty well. You just have to keep an eye on the moss to not dry out, and then water again when you see it's drying out. Now I want to show you how the propagations will look in a little bit of time. Here I have a little propagation that I already did some while ago. You can see all the new growth in there from the 2-leaf cuttings. And this one was done in perlite and moss, I think, a mixture, because my plan here is to take this whole plate of propagation out in one piece and then just plop it onto a new pot of soil. So we are not even disturbing the roots a lot. And with moss, I always try to detach a little bit of the moss because it's too much most of the time. And then you break some roots and you know, it's not the best for the plant. Here we have an example of a transplanted propagation plate, I will call it. So you can still see the moss in there that I didn't manage to remove. But other than that, the propagation looks really healthy, and you can already see that it made nice roots in the soil. I have prepared 2 pots of soil right here, approximately the size of the propagation. Get it out of the glass. Maybe I could have taken a spoon or something. Okay. So the idea with the perlite was actually quite good. With the perlite you can detangle it a little bit better. So here's a little bit of moss still attached, but the perlite is easy to remove. So I would suggest, if you don't like to have a lot of sphagnum moss on top of your pot later on, then try it with perlite instead of sphagnum, or a mix of both. And now I'm just putting a little bit of soil on top to really cover all those roots. I will shower this afterwards so all the soil settles a little bit and it will look a little bit nicer, hopefully. Now that I'm seeing this, I think I actually like the method with full sphagnum moss better, because it's not so fussy to transplant. Okay guys, I got a spoon and we will try it with the spoon to maybe get it out in one piece and just plop it on, because I hate it like this happened. Oh my gosh. Okay, and then just press it on a little bit. We will give this a good water too. Yeah, I think this one looks already better and we disturb the roots even less. So yeah, and the roots will start to grow from this top layer into the bottom layer of soil that we put in, and then eventually grow like this. This was my whole propagation process. We did the soil propagation, we did the moss propagation, and then actually, if you have a successful propagation, how to then transplant it back into soil. I hope you enjoyed this video, I hope you learned something, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day or night whenever you watch this. And I will see you next time. Until then, enjoy your plants. Bye!